Friends, we'll visit with one of Vermont's maple ambassadors to learn about our state's signature product and preview the annual Maple Festival coming up later this month. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. Every year, 2 young Vermonters are selected to serve as Maple Ambassadors. The ambassadors help promote, publicize, and educate the public about Vermont's $35 million a year maple industry. Joining me this afternoon is one of the young Maple Ambassadors. I want to welcome Amanda Beauregard, who's from the town of Fairfield. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And before we get started, a quick note about the second Maple Ambassador. Doug Calderwood of Craftsbury was selected along with Amanda at last year's Maple Festival. Doug is now managing a large sheep dairy, and his work responsibilities prevent him from being with us this afternoon. In his absence, we want to acknowledge Doug's dedication to the maple industry and congratulate him for serving as one of the Maple Ambassadors over the past year. So let's talk a little bit about why you wanted to become a Maple Ambassador.
Well, I wanted to become a Maple Ambassador because I've had cousins that were Maple Ambassadors, and since I was young, I thought it would be something that would be really fun to do. And my aunt approached me with the application, and I thought it sounded like a great opportunity to learn more about maple.
And so tell me a little bit about your background with maple.
My family owns a medium-sized sugar bush in Fairfield, and we have around 5,500 taps, and we're all on pipeline. And I've actually been around maple since I was very young now. My grandparents and my uncles owned a sugar bush in Fairfield as well, and they were all on buckets with horse and big tanks they'd lug around. And so that was always fun to go to the woods.
You know, you talk about your family, but it really is, in Vermont anyway, a family tradition. It involves the entire family.
Right, absolutely.
And so how are you selected as Maple Ambassador? How does that process work?
Right, we applied with an essay, and we read about our background with maple and what draws us to the maple industry. And then we had an interview with a panel of people. There was former Maple Ambassadors, as long as people from the Vermont Sugar Makers Association. And then we were crowned at the Maple Festival in St. Albans back in April. Now,
is there a scholarship too involved?
Right, we won a $2,000 scholarship, so it was pretty substantial, and it'll be very helpful.
Now let's talk a little bit about some maple issues, because there's been a big change in the maple grading system during the past year. Can you tell us a little bit about what the changes are and how they affect producers and also consumers?
Yeah, so I actually brought in the old grading system along with the new one.
Okay.
And so this is an older test kit.
Okay.
And so what we have here is what was Vermont Grade the Fancy. And then this is Grade A Medium Amber. And this is Grade A Dark Amber, and then Grade B.
Okay.
And what the new grading system has done is to kind of form this into 3 categories rather than 4.
Oh, okay.
So this is A golden with golden color with delicate flavor, and it's supposed to be kind of the lighter end of medium amber and fancy together. Okay. And then this is amber color with rich taste, and it's more of the medium amber along with the lighter end of the dark amber.
Okay.
And then this is Grade A dark color with robust taste, and it's more of Grade B and then the darker end of the dark amber.
So the thinking is it makes it a little bit easier for consumers to realize what they're getting taste-wise.
Absolutely. The names have changed so that they understand the flavor, because when it was just Grade A Medium Amber, it was hard to tell what the flavor of the syrup was going to be. And with it says robust taste, you can tell that it's going to be a little bit sweeter and stronger. While with the golden delicate, you know that it's going to be a finer, more, I guess, like fancy taste.
I guess for those of us who've grown up with syrup, that we understand the old system, but for people who are new to it or don't know that much about the product itself, it kind of helps describe what they're buying.
Yes, definitely. We hope that the new system will help consumers to understand what they're buying.
Now, there have also been a lot of changes in maple production during your lifetime as far as technology. Now, you say that your family uses tubes, but that wasn't always the case with your older relatives.
Right. My uncles have always been on buckets, but they recently have switched. So I think more than half of their woods is on pipeline now. So I'm seeing more and more people switch over. People are getting more product out of their woods with using the new technology.
And so your role as Maple Ambassador began at last year's Maple Festival in St. Albans. Why do you think the festival is significant, and what does it mean to you?
I think the festival is significant because it attracts a lot of Vermonters because maple is such an important part of culture in Vermont, and people come to the Maple Festival not only to enjoy maple but to learn more, and so I think it's very important in informing the public about the process behind maple syrup.
It also means that spring's almost here.
That's true.
Now, do you have a favorite part of the festival?
I do like going to the sugar house, and I also enjoy the donuts. So.
Now, there are a lot of maple products. You mentioned donuts that you like, but do you have a recipe that you use maple in?
We do. We actually make maple candies at my house, and we sell those to the public. And so we boil our syrup down even more, and we put them through a mixer, and we end up with these little candies, and I've actually had a couple on my way here today, and they're delicious.
Yeah, these are really similar. People see these a lot with the
Right.
little maple leaf. And there's also another one that you brought too?
Yes, these are the harder candies, and basically these have just been boiled down a little longer, and they're like a lollipop. Well, these are softer.
Oh, okay. So tell me now, as an ambassador, what were some of the activities that you've been involved with?
We started out the year with the Maple Festival. We were in the parade, and that was a lot of fun. And we also helped out in the sugar house. And then we went on over the summer to do a few fairs and festivals. We went to our local county fairs along with the Champlain Valley Fair, where we worked in the sugar houses there, and we got to meet a few people, made creamies, so that was fun. And then we went to Maple Rama at Jay Peak this year. It was Orleans County that Maple Rama was in. And we got to do sugar house tours, so that was interesting to see how all different people set up their woods and their sugar houses and the different variations in technology.
Interesting. And you also went to Eastern States.
Yes, we did. And I think it was September we went to Eastern States for Vermont Day, and that was a lot of fun. It was a huge fair. I'd never been there before, and we got to meet a lot of people who knew close to nothing about maple, so it was interesting to inform them.
What were some of the questions that you got?
People asked me if maple syrup is sugar-free or gluten-free, and it is gluten-free, it's not sugar-free.
Because it's sugar.
Yes, exactly. So it was fun.
And so what did you learn from your year of serving as ambassador?
I've learned a lot. The biggest thing that I've learned is what an important thing maple is to Vermont. And like you said, it's a huge industry, and it's really important, and that we need to keep that tradition going.
And so do you find that, you have younger siblings, and it's sort of all hands on deck in sugaring season, but do you find that that's something that you probably continue tradition-wise?
Right. I think that I'll definitely continue to have a future with maple. I'll definitely be involved, and I think my siblings would like to be as well. I don't know if I'll ever have a sugar house of my own. I'd like to, potentially, but we'll see.
And so what are your future plans?
I'd like to go to college. I'm not sure where. I've been accepted to a few places, and I'd like to pursue a career in speech pathology.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so I was admiring your crown. You said you think you get to keep it?
I think I do, so that's exciting.
Do you have any advice for anybody who might be interested in becoming a Maple ambassador?
I would say go for it. Apply. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great experience.
It sounds like you learned a lot.
I have. It's been a lot of fun.
Okay, well, now the 48th Annual Vermont Maple Festival is coming up the end of this month. It's April 25th, 26th, and 27th in St. Albans. You can go to the website, vermontmaplefestival.org, for more information about the festival and the website. That's also where you can find out the information about becoming a Maple ambassador. And once again, a job you highly recommend?
Absolutely.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
With our remaining few moments, we're going to take a quick trip to the University of Vermont's Fleming Museum. Throughout the year, the Fleming hosts a series of changing exhibits and exhibitions. The museum has hosted traditional art exhibits from Tibet in past years, and now contemporary Tibetan art is also on display. Rebecca Gollin takes a look.
Mickey Mouse, Shrek, and Che Guevara are not the kinds of traditional icons that come to mind when talking about Tibetan art, where images and iconography are used to invoke religious and spiritual meaning. A new exhibit at the University of Vermont's Fleming Museum puts a very different spin on that tradition.
It shows the evolution, the traditions that continue, as well as the really radical and fast evolution that's happened within contemporary Tibetan art.
Janie Cohen is the director of the Fleming Museum. She jumped at the opportunity to show this rarely seen work, which consists of paintings, photographs, sculpture, and videos by over 24 artists.
This was curated by a woman named Rachel Pereira Weingeist from the private collection of Shelley and Donald Rubin in New York. And it's really unusual work that's just not seen.
The show is called Anonymous and came about when Weingeist invited Tibetan artists from around the world to submit their work unsigned, with the idea that remaining nameless would free them to explore topics they normally would or could not. It echoes back to the Tibetan tradition where artists deliberately left their finished pieces unsigned in order to not draw attention away from that spiritual message. The themes that run through the work touch on the political, geographical, and cultural struggles of Tibetans and their own search for identity amidst that chaos. Ironically, even though the idea was for artists to remain anonymous, many did choose to sign their work, even while taking the opportunity to push the boundaries of their traditions. What are some of those themes?
There are many things in the paintings that combine traditional iconography of Tibetan Thangka painting with very of-the-moment cultural icons that are immediately recognizable to us in the West. But it's this meeting, and it's not necessarily a clash. There's the realities of life in the People's Republic of China. For instance, this piece right here, which is a huge passport, in which the traditional naming, which is a one name, Tibetan one name, on the Chinese passports, the name is put as the surname, and then the first name is left XXX.
The Fleming has shown traditional Tibetan art in the past, with a show in 2006 that featured common references and icons, such as these paintings. The difference is that the works in Anonymous use that tradition as a springboard to pair contemporary images with those ancient themes.
A large number of the artists in this show were trained in this traditional Buddhist painting style. And where they did not sign their names, and there are, there's the Buddha or Bodhisattva surrounded by other figures, by animals, by clouds. You see those symbols and those images in a lot of the works.
Cohen points out that although the original idea was for artists to remain anonymous, aside from the video makers, these artists all chose not only to sign their works, but in many cases, to produce extremely personal pieces.
This one speaks to one of the issues that runs through the exhibition, which is loss, a sense of loss. And so you have monk's robes, the gorgeous red and gold fabric, seated on sand in these frames with Tibetan scripture, Chinese currency, and brass butter lamps. There's this sense of presence and absence at the same time.
With its brightly colored pieces and sharp insights, Anonymous at the Fleming Museum challenges the viewer to rethink the intersection of traditional and modern, both in art and in life. In Burlington, I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
And before we leave today, we want to remind you the 48th Annual Vermont Maple Festival is coming up at the end of this month. It's April 25th, 26th, and 27th in St. Albans. You can go to the website vtmaplefestival.org for more information about the festival, and the website is also where you'll find the information about becoming a Maple Ambassador. That's our program for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. We'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.